All right, all right, all right. It's Monday night. You know what time it is. Open court discussion in the counselor's corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the controversial counselor. Joining me is my co-host, Herb Lewis, the big bad wolf.
Oh,
Willie A. Price speaks the truth.
How's everybody tonight?
And the dependable Christine Brooks when she joins us. Last week, we led off with the topic, Are Native Black American Males Driving Native Black Women's Weight Issues? You already know when you mention weight with women, there will be some fireworks.
It's over.
In this segment, it was just that. And it did not disappoint. Well, tonight, we will discuss cleanliness is next to godliness. What are your hygiene deal breakers? It's a lot to be said about this one. It's a lot to be said about this one. So we're going to get into that shortly. Now, let's take a look at the other three essential talking points. Two are holdovers from last week. One would be, would you consider a polyamory relationship if your mate suggested it? And remember what that is, folks, if you don't, when you kind of have relationships, entanglements with a couple people, everybody knows about it, and you just go about your business. A lot of people say with that, men are doing it anyway, so why not just put it out there? So we're going to dive into that as well. Then we're going to go into how has the pandemic affected your relationships as far as with friends, families, and partners. And finally, who runs the family, mother or father? This was about a family portrait taken where the father dressed differently than the rest of the family, and he was ridiculed for it. How dare somebody ridicule a grown-ass man for wearing what he want to wear? And we're going to talk about that as well. Another outstanding lineup that we can't wait to address. Please like and share our video and subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. So, all right, now, got a lot to talk about, a lot going on. So what's good with everybody?
man. Just just moving through the world, man. One day at a time. That's all I can do. That's all I should do.
All right.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hey,
Christine.
Christine.
What's going on?
Hey, Big Bad Wolf.
What's going on?
I like that
Really
hat,
got her hair down.
counselor.
Thank
You
you.
really got her
Thank you.
hair down tonight.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's better. I can be seen. I don't look like a dot.
Well, I know what's going on with me. I decided after it ain't been 2 years, but since like December of I think it was 2019, I stepped back on the basketball court again yesterday with the well, originally when the program started, the rec league, it used to be like 40 and over. So what motivated me was, it would be like guys out there that's like 70, 75, still out there hooping, hitting jump shots, playing, running up and down the court. So I'm
And you
like,
figured
man,
you could take them.
I would play,
Or get took.
I would struggle, not with them per se, but just cardio and just the bumps and the bruises. So yesterday it started back up, and of course, probably within 5 minutes, my heel, what is it called? Plantar. I can't say the word.
Plantar fasciitis.
Yeah, plantar fasciitis. I had that before years ago, but it kind of comes and go. But man, I could barely walk all day yesterday, and walking into work, my heel was killing me. So, hey, I'm still gonna go back for more on Sunday. But we'll see.
Are you?
Yeah, that's when the 90-year-olds come out.
So Marita said, Christine, you need a title. Christine comes correct all the time. Okay. I like that.
Man, I've played basketball in over 20 years.
Yeah,
I don't think maybe 15, 20 years I haven't played basketball. I might have shot a ball, but like to actually play a game, I haven't played basketball in 15, 20 years. I already know my limitations on that. My knees cannot take it. All that jumping and pounding.
Yeah, because you just never things that you not used to doing on a regular basis. I made one move and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, okay, what was that?
Exactly.
So all types of things could happen, but I'm gonna give it a shot and see. Hopefully, nothing major comes out of it, no injuries, but it's definitely a good workout. Definitely.
Be careful. Yeah. I go out on the track. Like I said, I still, compete. And, well, I'm trying to compete again this year, but I go out on the track and I'll just do my drills and stuff like that. But trying to get on that basketball court and up and down and cutting and turning, oh no, I already know. They'd had to come scrape me off the floor.
You got it. The thing I found out about aging and doing athletics is one, you have to. There's something that you have to stick with. I'm consistently riding the bike or rollerblading or playing tennis. So for me, it's not that much of a stretch. But what I found out is one, you have to stretch. And it's not just your normal stretch. 15, 20 minutes of stretching, warming up, and easing into it.
Probably my biggest problem, not stretching like that.
Yeah, I make sure I stretch it.
You're saying do that beforehand. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Before and after.
Yeah. Especially after. Because then everything start tightening up if you don't.
Right. Because it's funny, I remember I was out at Legends Court, which is a court, about maybe a mile from my house. And I'm out there, this is about 5-6 years ago, and I'm stretching, and the younger boys out there, they said, "What you doing?" I said, "I'm stretching." They said, "Why?" I said, "Because if I don't do this job, I get hurt." I said, "You guys come out here and get right into it." I said, it's not that simple. So I'm going to make sure that I'm well stretched, well warmed up, so I don't pull any muscles, I don't have any sprains, and next importantly, if I'm sore the next day, it's not anything substantial. So though, I stress, especially for the older people, warm up. Biking is a little different for me because biking is a little different for me. He's making sure his litter is covered. Biking for me is a little different because I don't know. I consistently bike, so it's not something I need to really warm up to get into. I just make sure that I don't overexert myself because that's what I'll have a tendency to do. And then I'll be like, okay, wait a minute, I went out too fast. But other than that, I do okay. But like I said, I've never really strayed far away from it because I'm accustomed to biking. Sometimes I had a job doing security at the mall. So I would bike 25 minutes one way and bike 25 minutes back the other. And I would always time myself just to make sure and see what my time was. So I would get out roughly about 4 miles, maybe 3.5 to 4 miles. I will cover that distance in about 23 minutes.
You're the man. So, you're the man.
Hey, I just do what the body allows.
All right. Now, you gonna say something? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that swimming. I wish there was somewhere to go swimming around here. That's the only problem.
Yeah, somebody said go swimming. I have to agree.
Swimming is very good for you. That works you all the way around without all that strain and hanging on your muscles. And so I wish there was somewhere to go swimming because I would do some swimming, but I'm not going all the way to UB to go swimming.
Yeah, swimming. Good old swimming.
Yeah, it's the best. Besides running, this is probably the second best exercise. But the difference is, just like you said, Willie, no impact.
Yeah.
So aside from running, this is the best exercise going. Works every muscle group, and like you said, the cardio.
All right. So we're gonna dive into the show topic. The first segment. Cleanliness is godliness. What are your hygiene deal breakers? Before we get going, What's the deal, ladies, with men saying they're deal breakers, and it's always like a rebuttal, like, well, like the feet
You
I
have to
posted.
understand.
Yeah.
You have to
Maybe she went through this. Maybe she went through that. Like I put in my caption, I don't give a damn about that story. If your feet looks like that, I'm gonna have a hard time.
You offered socks.
Huh? Yeah. But even still, you still can't rub them joints up against.
Well, maybe you don't understand why. You don't understand why their feet looks like that. Maybe they got ran over by a car. All these old. Who cares what the excuse is? If your feet look that bad, you telling me what happened to them is not gonna make them not look bad. They still gonna be ugly, and I'm not gonna want to mess with them. I'm gonna give you some socks when you come over, and you can like I said, you can drop everything but them socks.
Now, when women say, "Oh, bad breath, dirty long nails," you're entitled to that. Exactly. I didn't say when you said bad breath. I didn't say, well, maybe his breath smells because he public speaks all day and he's always talking to people. So,
or he's got digestive issues or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But there's always some rationale for why we should not criticize the situation. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, when they're to the point where you don't know their story. Oh, you can't judge people. They could have been sound like she pretty much was saying the woman could have been like a slave, whatever, like, or whatever. I'm like, you're taking stuff way too far. You're taking it too far.
Thank you. It doesn't matter what reason, why they look like that. The fact is they look like that, and that's not something you prefer or something you're gonna want to deal with, or whatever the case,
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things. Do what you can to fix them. If you can only do so much, then get with somebody that feet issues. They don't have an issue with ugly feet.
Or they better walk around with their socks on. That's it. Then they won't have to worry about it. You want to see my feet? Because also,
there's a way to be sexy with that. You can get them thigh highs, socks,
put them stockings on, footies, whatever,
something.
Exactly. But what was I gonna say? I forgot. My mind went blank that fast. It'll come back to me.
All right, so let me ask you this. Let me lead off with: have you ever been in a situation where you had to discuss hygiene with your partner? Are we gonna start with a Willie's moment? We're gonna start off with a Willie's moment right now.
Well, I'll let somebody else go just in case, but I got a definite. When we talk about cleanliness next to godliness, and this person really was a clean person. We had dated for a while, and maybe man, a good couple months, 6, 7, 8 months, maybe close to a year. And I invited her to go on a trip with me and to a track meet. Actually, we're going to a track meet out of town and a national track meet. And so I was competing there. I asked her, invited her to go with me. And we got in the car and we're driving. And I'm like, what the heck is that smell? And, now, mind you, we driving from Buffalo to Boston. That's like
8 hours.
How long?
And I'm like,
how long is it?
That's 9 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and at first you could smell it, but it wasn't like really bold. But you was like, what? I was like, what the hell?
What was it?
I'm gonna get there. So we finally get to Boston, and the track meet was the next day, and we went out to eat. We came back in the room, and I smelled it again. What the hell? So now I'm really like baffled because, like I said, we've been together for almost a year, no issues, nothing. We get to the track meet and sitting up there with my friends, I go to warm up. And when I come back, all my friends had left her sitting in the bleachers by herself. because it had gotten so bad. It was her vagina.
Oh,
what the hell was?
I don't know. And the thing was, it was so strong. The odor was so strong, and like I said, it never been anything like that before. But what really got me is that I didn't know how to like, hey,
how to address it.
Right, how to address it. And so when I finally figured, like, I kind of talked to her about it, she got offended. And she was upset with me, like, what do you mean by vagina? You know, I'm like, why do you think everybody left you at the track meet? I mean, I knew where she was sitting because everybody scattered from around. That's how strong it had gotten by that point. So I don't know if she ended up like maybe because she stopped speaking to me. We stopped dating because she was offended. Oh, you lying? You just, I mean, she was really upset with me, but I didn't know how to approach, how to tell her. But I mean, from the time we left to go to Boston, you could smell something. But by the time we got there,
my God! And you had to you drove back home with that same odor.
Yes, yes, 9 hours. And she was so upset with me because I was trying to talk to her on the way home about it, and she was like, "You don't know what you're talking about. I ain't nothing wrong." But I guess she couldn't smell it because I don't know why.
Hey, if it was smelling that bad, somebody done told her that before.
Maybe she had a medical condition. Maybe she had a medical condition and you should have paid for surgery.
And so I never had that issue. And we had been like 7, 8, 9 months and nothing. And when we got ready to go on that trip, and like I said, it was a little tiny, you could smell like, what the hell, like, what the hell is that?
Oh my God.
By the time we got there, it was full blown. I don't know if it was a yeast, I don't know what infection, some kind of infection or what. But by the time we got back, she wasn't speaking to me because she thought, I don't know, she thought I was being funny or being mean. I don't know what it was she thought, but we stopped speaking and she wouldn't talk to me. But I guess she wouldn't have got it taken care of. She finally figured out what it was and got it taken care of. But I mean, that was really body odor, feet odor, vagina odor. That's a no for me, especially like mouth odor. That's another bad one. When you talk to a person, and then those people who have that breath odor, and they always want to get right in your face and talk to you. And that drops right up.
I promise you, all the words have inches in them when they talk.
You smell every letter in their mouth. How you doing?
So Willie, I got to read this comment. Emery said, "Wait a minute, Willie, you were with her for a year,
almost a year. That's right, and it was never.
You didn't get any sex that night, and you got there."
No, we didn't do anything that night because, like I said, by the time we got there, I'm like, "What the hell going on?"
Sound like they said, Willie, you smashed that during that time.
I used the excuse. I have to run tomorrow. I got to run tomorrow. I have there for a track meet. I was there for a track meet, so no, I got to run tomorrow. I can't be doing nothing with you. That's gonna slow me down. Hell no. That joint was man. I had never smelled anything like that before in my life. It was when I say literally, I left. We were sitting with my friends, and when I went to warm up and came back, nobody was near her. Everybody just kind of walked gradually. She's sitting in the bleachers by herself. I mean, that's how bad it was. It was really, by that time, it was so strong, and I think she noticed it, but was embarrassed by that time. Because when I brought it up to her, she never said, she was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I think she kind of started to notice it or whatever. But it was horrible.
Okay, so my situation was not nearly that bad. It was that somebody I was dating, the way they worked, number one, it was outdoors. Sometimes it was in wet conditions or whatever. And when they would come over, they'd want to take their shoes off, and it'd be like,
Ooh.
oh my God. So it was more so having to tell them, you have to take your shoes off. Matter of fact, bring a change of clothes, because you're going to have to change.
Oh boy.
Basically before you come in the house, for several reasons. The type of dirt that would be on their clothes, I didn't want it on my furniture. I didn't want, my kids breaking out and stuff like that. And then, like I said, the wet feet, that smell was horrific. So it wasn't that they were just an unclean.
Well, it sounds like he was doing construction of some nature.
Coming from work or something, that it was in his clothes?
Yeah, it was from work. It was from work.
Oh, okay.
It was from
they should want to come in your house with their work clothes on anyways.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's different. I wouldn't. Yeah, I when I come from work, I want to go straight home. I don't want to be in my work clothes longer than longer than necessary. And I'm not, and I'm not even in that type of environment. It reminds me of when I used to work at the casino, and because the casino I worked at was on a Native American reservation, and smoking was permitted. It reminded me of what I used to smell like coming out of a nightclub when smoking was permitted, and you could just smell the cigarette smoke and all it would just permeate your clothes. So I was just like, I would get home and I don't smoke, so in the morning I'd wake up and I'd be like, yo, what the hell is that smell? And then I'm like, oh wow, the clothes they gotta go. Them clothes have got to go somewhere. I don't know where they gotta go, but they got to get up out of this room. So, laundry basket downstairs in the basement or wherever it was, but that was just awful. And the funny thing about
straight up dirty, to be straight up poor hygiene, I couldn't deal with it. There's no way. It wouldn't even be a discussion. It'd be like, I got ghost on you. Like, she don't answer my phone calls no more. Nope.
So what's your take on when somebody has like maybe a bad tooth in their mouth, they need to get it pulled, their breath stinks? Are you willing to work with them on that if they tell you, oh, if you smell something, I got a bad tooth in my mouth? Would you be
when we getting it fixed?
Exactly. All right.
When is your dentist appointment?
When's your appointment? Like that. When if they know it's an issue and they're saying, this is what's going on, I need to get it taken care of. All right, that's different.
Yeah, that's different. And basically they're admitting they know it's an issue.
Exactly.
And they're letting you know ahead of time. Look, I know I got this issue. Bear with me. I gotta, okay, that's cool, but tell me that it's within the next 7 days, right?
There's people out there, and I was watching because it was a survey. Somebody did like a post on Facebook one time, and they were asking how often people shower and bathe. And you would be surprised at some of the answers that people gave us to, I shower every three days, or, once a week and all that. I'm like, what the hell?
I just have an issue with that, or issue, questions, whatever, because for one thing, like, maybe it's just me, but water's therapeutic to me. It not only does it get you clean, like you just feel like you just washed off, I don't know, anything bad that happened to you that day. When you get up in the morning, that fresh showered feel before you walk out of the house, it's like great. What the crap? What is the issue with people not wanting to?
Not wanting water on them. I don't want to catch a cold.
Did you almost drown as a child? Did you got some issues? PTSD when it comes to water? What's going on?
Just laziness.
Yeah, that's what I have to chalk it up to, because I know that's particularly after I get done working out. I either it's a shower or a bath, and sometimes I'll take a bath just because I want to soak, especially with joints.
Yeah.
I don't know if
daily's got to be.
I don't know if you ever noticed it, and I noticed it, but then I saw somebody talk about it. What's her name? Serena Williams. Which was the one, the big one? Serena. Serena Williams. But I noticed this on watching television. You've probably seen it, never paid any attention. White people do not use washcloths. And that's what Serena Williams said. She had to teach her husband about washcloths. If you ever watch a movie with white people in the movies, they get the soap and the water and they do this with the soap and water, and then they rinse off. They don't use. If you watch a movie now, you're gonna notice it. And I kept saying, wait a minute, they don't have any washcloths. And that's what Serena Williams said. One of the things she had to show her husband, she noticed that he wasn't using a washcloth. And when she had one, he was asking her, what was that for? And she had to explain to him, no, you got to use a washcloth and wash the dirt off you. They get in with the water.
I've definitely heard that before.
Watch television. When you watch television now and notice them in the shower, you will not see a washcloth anywhere, a loofah, nothing. They don't use washcloths and loofahs. They use soap and they use their hands and wipe the water and the soap off. And
as a matter of fact,
they don't shower every day either.
Traveling.
That I can't speak to.
Traveling. Every place you go, they don't necessarily give you washcloths, and that's just like I had that happen to me one time traveling out of the country, and ever since then I always bring my own washcloths.
They don't use them. They washcloths. I think I would say a black thing, because they don't use washcloths and they don't really see. I don't know if the need for it or whatever it is, but when you start watching these movies, you'll see it in there. Because now I pay attention to it because, like I said, I noticed it. But then when Serena Williams was talking about it with her husband, which is a white guy, and then I started watching television again, and then you really notice it that none of those characters ever use a washcloth. They get soap and they're washing, they're washing, but there's no washcloths anywhere in the picture.
Now, Anita said pretty much you need to stop watching all the movies that's in the TV or movies. Not all white people don't use a washcloth. Y'all funny. Washcloths are not just a black thing. Laughing my fucking ass off.
I have to co-sign what Anita said because I work in the hospitality and tourism industry, more specifically a hotel. And we are consistently asked for washcloths by Caucasian people. So I'm not saying
it's just a black thing, but I am saying I've traveled out of the country
when you go
and
abroad,
it was like they didn't give us washcloths, and I'm like, what the crap is this? Where's the washcloths?
Yep.
I can't speak to that because the only place I've ever traveled outside of the U.S. is Canada, and it's a staple there. So I'm going to imagine you're talking either Central America, South America, or Europe. Yeah. Europe or Asia.
Central America and some tropical countries.
Yeah, you have to ask for them.
Yeah, and that
didn't ask for them. Okay, we'll bring them to you. Never came. Had to happen to me one time.
They probably don't have them.
They didn't. That was the thing. They didn't. So after that experience, I started bringing my own. And 9 times out of 10, you go and they'd have them, but then there'd be certain places you go and they wouldn't have them. Yeah. So just to be on the safe side, I was carrying my own.
Well, different countries and different places you go, hygiene is different. They do like you go to certain countries like Jamaica and stuff and Africa, they don't use deodorant.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they don't believe in using deodorant. So, I mean, there's so many different hygiene issues. So, again, it's not always sometime a person's hygiene, like we say hygiene, but it may be their culture, their upbringing that, because like you said, if you're dealing with a West Indian person and they don't use deodorant and you get with them, you're like, what the heck? Here, put this on. They be like, what is that? And it's because it's not something that they do or something that they use. And they don't think, they think natural body odor is
fine. Yeah.
It's fine. And is actually supposed to attract you to the woman or to the man or whatever. It's supposed to be like that odor is supposed to
a natural
attract,
aphrodisiac, I guess.
Exactly.
It's funny that it's funny that
I like cologne. I like fresh scents.
Thank you.
I was listening to in my car the Shade Radio thing, and they was talking about that exact thing about the natural smell and all that stuff. And I caught the tail end of it, so I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? They was like, and it was some woman who called in. She was like, okay, I like sweat and all that stuff, but if it's like 2 or 3 days old sweat, or she's like the worst sweat is dirty ball sweat and all that stuff, I'm like, man, this is like rated X on here on the radio. But this is like this evening when I was.
I feel like this. Can we start off clean together? You know.
The funny thing about that is this: pheromones work differently for different people, and just like David said, some women are attracted to a man that has just finished working out because he releases a certain type of pheromones that she might be attracted to. And the only time that might be secreted in him is when he perspires. So there are some women that want to be next to a particular man after he's done working out. She'll tell him, don't shower, come sit next to me. So for some people, it works like that. Some people have a natural inclination just because of the DNA that attracts certain people with certain scents. What movie was it? Boomerang with Strong J. She had the perfume that she came out with.
Right.
Like I said, let's start off clean. How about that?
So I mean,
I don't even like sweat. I don't like to sweat.
Well, they say women. Some of the things that turn women on fire as a smell is like lavender. Black licorice. I don't know what the hell that smell like.
I like spices. I like. I mean, when it comes to a man, I like more of your spices.
Strong musk and stuff. Like
that.
I just simply wear ladies killer.
Must M-U-S-K, not must M-U-S-T. Just let's.
I did that with you. Dave's like, what's it called? Lady killer.
Lady killer. That's all you got to wear. Ladies killer. I can wear ladies killer at work, and they be like, "What is that smell? Like something smells so good."
I've never heard of that.
I haven't either. I need to get some. Maybe that's why I can't find one. I ain't wearing the right scent. I
ain't gonna tell you the secret either.
What about body hair, shaving and not shaving, and those kind of things, especially for women, underarms and vaginal hairs and all that stuff, especially underarms. I shave my underarms, so I sure ain't trying to be with somebody that got a fur ball under their armpit.
I think
because that also gets an odor also if you know what I mean. Underarms and vagina hair and peanut, around your groin area from sweating, that gets an odor too. And a lot of people
traps odor. Yeah, it traps the odor.
And people don't shave that.
I'd prefer it be minimal or gone.
Yeah.
Daphne said use some coochie perfume.
Do they make that?
Well, that's what that's what Strong J called. She called the scent pussy.
Right.
And Boomerang.
Right.
That's what I believe that's what Daphne was speaking of. Yeah. But the funny thing about what people don't realize about hair, and one of the reasons why when surgery is done they shave you clean, is because it traps so much bacteria. So if you're in wet environments or damp environments and you're not thoroughly dry, absolutely it's a source of bacteria collection, and it breaks down really quick. And to what Willie was talking about with the young lady earlier, it can really smell very quickly. This is why when you go to a lot of locker rooms, the first thing that hits you is a certain type of scent, and you're just like, whoa, what is this? And this is why mothers always complain about their teenage sons in their rooms, because a lot of young boys, especially if they don't have a man around who's going to teach them about this type of thing, that your rooms cannot be dirty. In other words, your undergarments, your socks, you got to take them and deposit them somewhere where they're not going to smell as bad, or the collection is going to be diluted by the fresh air that you're consistently getting. This is why you see dirty clothes hampers and baskets with air holes, so the air gets through there. And this is why, the funny thing about that is we even though this is not particularly about garments, this is why you always see a lot of women complain about perspiration underneath their breasts, because it gets trapped and it doesn't air out because they're always consistently wearing them. This is why a lot of doctors will tell women don't always wear bras. Number one, because it doesn't support the breast tissue underneath the way it does. So what I tell women is this, just a little secret. If you want to be able to get rid of wearing bras, this is for the people who aren't, truly heavy or truly top heavy and blessed. Push-ups.
Let me hold him. Let me hold him for him. I'll hold him for him.
Do push-ups. It will strengthen. It will strengthen the breast. Y'all laugh. I'm serious though. It will strengthen the breast tissue underneath, so your breasts sit up firmer, so you don't have to wear bras as often. Of course, like I said, it's going to be dependent upon your size. So if you're a C cup or larger, you might have a little bit of a problem. But if you're a B, do push-ups. Start out when you teens.
People going to work with no bras.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I've been in, because for pretty much my entire life I've worked with the public. I know women that don't wear undergarments, and you wouldn't be able to tell.
In most cases at work, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Well, you would never know. It's all dependent upon the type of clothing they wear. If they're wearing tight-fitting clothing, you'll probably notice. But if they're wearing loose-fitting clothing and they're not that well endowed, you would never notice because you wouldn't even look. You wouldn't think to look. And then if they were to tell you, you'd be like, I don't believe you. I'm just telling you what I know, what I've seen, and what I've witnessed. 50 years on this planet, about 35 of them, 34 of them working in the public. I'm telling you, it's teaching young daughters, growing up, do push-ups, firm their breast tissue. And a lot of women, because when they get older, they start to wear synthetic undergarments, particularly underwear, is not good for their women region. Wear cotton. It allows you to breathe. Just a little tip. You can ask your OBGYNs. They'll tell you the same thing.
Aren't sports bras? Aren't those good for them?
Sports bras aren't bad, but the thing about it is it doesn't offer the same type of support. Let's look at it like this. Imagine your body without bones.
With who?
Without bones. Your body falls apart. It would just turn into a man. Your muscle acts as the same thing. This is why you see guys, when they take off their shirts, guys that work out, they have the strong pecs. They look like they lift weights. The same thing will happen to a female's body. This is why you see athletes like Serena. Serena wears a sports bra. Yeah. That's because she's top heavy. But if Serena was half her size, she wouldn't need to wear a bra outside of what she's wearing when she plays. That's just to make sure. Yeah, that's just to make sure she's not getting hit in the face when she runs.
She's heavy.
Well, Serena's actually fit. Serena's 5'9", 165 pounds.
Like in a bad sense.
No, she's fit because muscle is more dense than fat. So you can take two people that are 5'9", but they'll never weigh the same if you have one that's actually working out and one that doesn't. And this is what people have to realize about athletes. This is why you can have an NFL receiver who's 5'9". Matter of fact, Steve Smith. Steve Smith was 5'9", 185 pounds. Rock solid, body fat 3 inches. I'm sorry, 3%. And this is what women don't realize when men tell them to lift weights. They say, "Well, I don't want to look bulky." You won't, because you're not lifting heavy weights. You're lifting weights to trim up. Basketball players do it. Yeah, you tone. So in toning, you're going to lose that fat. You might gain some weight, but the weight that you're going to gain, you won't know unless you step on a scale.
Well, what other? Let's see. So we have body odor, we have mouth odor, we have no fingernails.
I'm over this. I'm over this.
Hands are another thing for me too.
What'd you say?
Hands are another thing for me. I didn't think it was until I went to Ohio to visit this woman, and she reached out to touch my hand, and I looked at her hand, and I don't hold hands. Sorry.
Because of how her hands looked.
Her hands looked like something from a monster movie. They was skinny with wrinkly, and she had these long fake acrylic nails. It looked like a monster. I wouldn't hold her hand, and she actually knows it was that obvious that I wouldn't hold her hand. And I was like, nah, I don't hold hands. Sorry. I'm too hot to be holding hands. It's too hot to be holding hands.
Ooh, that's be funny.
You got booty diggers and chip nail polish and all of that stuff. I don't really want to. I don't want to. And I know it seems shallow or whatever the case is, but that's just how it is to me. I don't
mind the chip nails and all that stuff. It's just like if they hands look really, I mean, like it was wrinkly and real skinny fingers, but it was wrinkly. That kind of it looked like a monster, like monster claws in a movie. And I was like, nah, I'm not touching those.
See, that just sounds like somebody did.
Like the picture you showed earlier with the person biting their nails like that.
Yeah.
Now, especially for a woman, and I've seen some women who bite their nails like that, and I told you, I said that's a nervous condition or anxiety. My uncle had that problem, and he would.
It can look gross on a man, where you'd be like, I said it can look gross on a man, where you feel like, don't touch me with those.
Sit and watch television, and he'd be like this. And I mean, it would already be down, and he'd be like this gnawing on like, and you could see like the skin. Yeah, they're
starting on the skin because the fingernails is gone.
Was all gone, and that's what he would do. He would do that, and then later, like I said, later he started, doing drugs and stuff. But but the thing was, he had, I don't know what he was stressing. I was a little kid when he was doing it, so you just knew he always acted funny. Always real kind of funny. My grandmother babied him, but that was one of the things he would do. He would sit and be watching television. He'd just be gnawing. I mean, it was like you look at it like, dude, ain't nothing there. You would see all his skin because he ate off that much of the nail, and he just be gnawing. He just sitting there watching television, gnawing like that.
Have y'all ever seen somebody whose toenail has grown to curl around their toe?
Mine do that. I have to cut them. I cut them though.
That old Alabama with them Alabama.
If you cut them, that's fine. But if you not taking care of yourself and letting it grow, that to me is poor hygiene.
Yeah, and that comes from the shoe. A lot of times your shoes, because that's what happens with mine. My shoes will make them curl, and so they'll curl around, and then I cut them. But
it doesn't hurt though. I mean, I would think it hurts.
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't,
if
because
it's curling around.
It curls to the shit. It doesn't curl into your foot. It just curls because it's
underneath
the front of your shoe. So your shoe, your shoe is making it curve. It's not curving it into your foot because your shoe doesn't go into your foot. So it's just instead of the nail going out, it's hitting the front of the shoe and making it curve around. And so I have that problem, and I have to make sure I soak and cut my toes, because that's what happens.
And it reminds me when y'all was saying about biting nails. I remember we was younger. My grandmother, when we used to bite our nails and be doing that, she used to be like, "You keep doing it, she's gonna wrap some raw bacon around our hands, whatever, so you would stop biting your nails, whatever." We're like, "Ew, raw bacon," and she's like, "I'm gonna put some bacon around them fingers if you don't stop biting them." And I don't know.
Cayenne
hot
pepper
sauce
too on
or
your
hot
fingers.
sauce or
hot sauce. Yep,
like that.
Cayenne pepper and hot sauce on your hands too to keep you from doing it.
The reason why is because if you do that, you're prone to infections, because you're always touching things, And if you're a kid and you're playing in dirt, it's an easy way for germs to get inside the body. Yeah, so not only is it a hygiene issue, it's also more of a major health issue because of we constantly doing things with our hands. Of course, you got to wipe yourself, so it's a very easy way for pathogens to get inside the body directly into the bloodstream. So it's like I said, it's not just a hygiene issue; it's a health issue when you actually get down to brass tacks.
Has anybody ever dated somebody that sucked their thumb? Really? I'm the only one? God, I feel so experienced around here.
I've known people that suck their
somebody who sucks, and there's grown women who still suck their thumb. I've met grown women who still suck their thumb. They did it as a kid, and they still suck their thumb, and it's really interesting.
I have never encountered a female that has actually sucked their thumb. I can't recall. Very few guys, but no women ever, no females.
Really?
Young girl.
I had a guy cousin that sucked his thumb. I know a lot of
guys who did it. Guys who typically do it.
I had a guy cousin that did it, but then I also met like some women that did it. And one girl, like I said, I hung out with, and she had to go to sleep with her thumb in her mouth. She would go to sleep with her thumb in her mouth. And I was like, hell. Yeah, let's replace that. I mean, anyway. I'm sorry, Christy. I forgot you was on the show tonight.
I'm good.
So, I think the bigger thing with all of this is when we're talking about it, it's like preference. Like, what do you tolerate? What do you don't? Like, no one, I think you mentioned this, Willie, that no one has the right to tell you what you should accept and should not accept. Yeah, if you're totally against that and it makes you feel uncomfortable, who is the next person to say that you're shallow or you shouldn't do that? That's your choice. That's your choice, and it goes both ways. So people need to understand and respect that.
Now, speaking of which, talking about preference, because I guess it's not a hygiene issue, but to me it seems like one. But I dated somebody before that didn't wear underwear, and that bothered me.
I was just talking about that for women. Yeah, but that's
Why would it bother you though?
Commando.
It bothered me. That was like,
they should.
Dude, why ain't you got on no drawers?
Guys and girls should wear underwear.
You really
especially
should.
Especially guys.
Guys or girls, in my mind. I mean, girls, okay, if you got on a dress or a skirt or whatever, but kind of like what Herb said, it actually matters what you're putting against your body.
Yeah. So
even if you're not wearing, some big cotton drawers as a woman, the crotch should have a cotton lining. So to me, if you don't want to experience yeast infections and then underwear are a good idea. But even with guys, it's like,
excuse me. Especially if you're wearing jeans.
Didn't sit right with my soul.
If you're wearing jeans, the dye that's in jeans, that gets into now you're putting that directly on your skin, directly on your vagina. That dye and that's in that jeans, that stuff is toxic. And people are wearing jeans with no underwear on, or with the thong on, and basically that's no underwear. And so you're wearing these things that's allowing that blue dye to get into your system. And then with men, the problem with men not wearing underwear is when we go to the bathroom, you go to the bathroom and then you pull up your underwear. That's to protect that urine from getting into your clothes. So now you got this urine, because of course it drips. it's gonna drip into your jeans, into your dress pants. So now it's gonna be in your clothing. You go out places, you smell like urine, and people be moving away from you like they did that girl in Boston.
Pissy ass.
He always smell like pee. He always next to him.
All I can say is you better be good at the urinals, guys. If you're going commando, that's all I'm gonna say. Be good at the urinal. Make sure you wipe thoroughly.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you go to pee. You know it's still gonna, no matter how much you wipe. Ain't no wiping up in that. So, and that stain gets in your clothes, and it gets in your clothes. It gets in your pants. It's now it's seeking into the soil of your pants and in the front of your pants, and that odor is going to be there.
Well, one would hope that they're washing daily.
Well, but that doesn't have nothing to do with when you go pee.
He's saying it's getting in the fabric of your clothing.
Clothes, right?
I understand. I trust me. I understand thoroughly what he's saying. I'm speaking from experience.
And so it doesn't matter whether you get up and you shower or whatever. You still putting that urine in your clothes, and also your butt crack in them clothes too. So you think about that. You smell like
what's the next subject? Because I'm getting grossed out.
What people fail to realize is
think about it, Christine. He come to your house. He got no underwear on. He got urine in the front. He got booty in the back, and all that is soaking in them pants.
Booty juice.
But then see.
All right. Let's go to the next subject area, because we try to talk about y'all stinking ass people, whatever. But this was a holdover from last week. Would you consider polyamory relationships if your mate suggested it?
That's like what? Just different people, or like?
Yeah. So
other people. How does that work?
There should be a definition for that.
Where's my phone? Poly, whatever.
Oh, polyamory is the practice of or desire for intimate relationships with more than one partner, with the informed consent of all partners involved. So everybody knows about it.
Yeah. So it's not the same as like having a throuple, or it's that
and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's that a married couple and the wife may have a boyfriend outside of the marriage. The husband might have a girlfriend, and then that girlfriend might have a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Yeah,
it just kind of goes like that.
Yeah.
But everybody is aware.
Nah.
So, and the reason I asked that question, I saw it posted. I'll be honest. Somebody brought it up on Michael Based and on his thing, but they said, somebody commented, a lot of y'all are in those type of relationships anyway, just without consent.
Yeah.
So that made me ask the question. Now, for me, it's a hard no. I'm not good with sharing at all. So, but I just thought I'd throw it out there with that in mind, that a lot of people, that's what they're in fact doing. They're just not getting the consent.
Right. So that's cheating, though. That's like cheating with the
it is cheating, but especially if you're the cheater.
Yeah.
If you're the cheater,
thing is everybody knows what's going on. That's the difference. It's like all right, we agree.
And then
with
you
this.
sitting back suspecting that your significant other, your wife, girlfriend, whatever, is cheating also. Like, so what's the difference?
Right. Well, say that wouldn't work for me. But you know what's really funny about that? Guys, you hear a lot of guys say, yeah, that's cool. I can have this one, this woman, but they really don't want their woman doing the same thing. A lot of them. You know what I mean?
The double standard.
They'll have multiple women and feel that way. Feel like every one of them should be loyal.
Right. But that even that it's the same thing we were talking about, like the menage a trois. They don't mind 2 women, but if she was saying, "Well,
start mentioning another guy," and it's a whole problem.
Exactly. He don't want Bob bumping up against him. So so it's a two-edged sword.
So anyway, that was why I asked the question.
Who said that? Wait, what she said? I'm good with having more than one man as long as they don't have anyone else. Oh, as long as they don't have anyone else. So she can have more than one man, but figures that's Anita.
The funny thing about that is this: you have a lot of women that'll say they're not into it, but then when you turn around and look at some of these women's lives, they have children with a man who has multiple children with multiple women. So the question becomes, do we listen to what people say or do we watch what they've done? Because you'll have a lot of people, and this includes men, who will say that they won't, but they're dealing with a woman who has multiple children by multiple men. So either you're doing it directly or you're doing it indirectly. That's why I never really make a decision in terms of what I will or what I don't. Now, if I'm in a committed relationship, I generally don't, and I generally wouldn't, just because I don't trust the dating and mating habits of a lot of people, and that you open yourself up to all types of potential pathogens or just situations that may not go in the way that you have any control over. So, let's say your partner happens to step off with somebody who they agree with that this is all what was going to be was a consensual sexual relationship, and all of a sudden that individual develops feelings and now they want to come after you because you're the other person she's dealing with. That's the issue that I have, with these type of situations, is that you might be dealing with somebody might be dealing with somebody that's a little mentally unstable or they're unhinged, and now all of a sudden what started out as just a sexual relationship and was supposed to end there has morphed into something else. So now you got to deal with somebody who's running around with a screw loose, looking at burn your house down, destroy your property.
Wouldn't that be expected that there's going to be someone that will catch feelings?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing about that is this: the HBO years ago, and I don't know if they still run it, used to air a series called Real Sex, and in Real Sex, they would have all these swinger groups where it was open and admitted, and that's all it was. You had people that were emotionally mature enough to deal with these type of relationships. So after the party was over, everybody went their separate ways. And Ron Wills, shout out to the field marshal, talks about the underworld and this type of stuff that happens. He said, but not everybody is equipped to handle that. So a lot of that comes down, as David often says, KYP, know your personnel. If you're dealing with somebody who can't deal with this type of arrangement, then it's best not to even open that box, no pun intended. Because once you open Pandora's box, as we all know, anything subject and liable to happen, and Murphy's Law usually takes place, it usually does.
So,
and I was going to respond to DST. I saw her comment down there, and I'm glad you brought it up. And she was saying it's natural for men to desire more than one woman. And it is natural, because that's what men, they say that men do, desire more than one woman. But in the culture that we live in, it's not accepted. That's the issue with it. It's not accepted as it is in other countries, other cultures in Africa. In certain countries in Africa and different countries, it's accepted for men to have more than one woman if they can afford to take care of them, that kind of thing. But in the U.S., we've adopted ways where that's not accepted. And so,
why is it thought that it's natural for men to desire more than one woman, but that women don't desire?
Because they're not supposed to be promiscuous. They're not supposed to be considered
right.
promiscuous.
So that's not. So that's not about it being natural. It's about what's acceptable.
Accepted, and that's why I'm saying it's not accepted here, but in other countries, the man can have as many women as he wants, but that woman is considered promiscuous, and in certain countries, she'll get stoned, she'll get sent from the village. You know what I mean? You can no longer speak to her. There's so many things that repercussions happen with women. And like I dated a girl that was Muslim, and they're trying to stop this culture where when they're young girls, as they get to about maybe just preteens, they cut the
female circumcision.
Yeah.
Right. They do that to them. And the girl I was dating, she was Muslim, and they did it, but they only did part of hers. And she was fighting to prevent them from doing her little sisters. And she was telling me about, that culture and how they were raised. And it was really interesting. You find out a lot of things about different cultures when you around.
There was a supermodel. It might have even been Iman. There was a supermodel.
Probably. She's Ethiopian, right? Is she Ethiopian?
I think she's from the African diaspora. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, and she said, she was ashamed. Because this is not like surgical precision.
No.
No. A lot of times it's done by an elder with a sharp stone and all this kind of crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. And so women end up disfigured, and that was something that at one time I think it was Iman that was bringing attention to it and fighting that practice. Like she had to have female genital mutilation, and she had to have reconstructed.
Okay.
Yeah. Before she felt comfortable with her own body.
Right. They do
to
it
make
so they
it
can
painful
take
to have sex, so that
sensational way. The sensational
right. It was supposed to.
They believe it takes a sensational way, so that way you don't have that urge to be promiscuous, to have sex. And so that was one. That was what she talked about, is that, even though they cut her, they didn't cut all of it. So she still has some sensation. She said, but, what they do is they cut it so that way you don't have the sensation. And then that's supposed to deter you from wanting to have sex because you don't have that sensation for having sex.
Yeah, it's not as enjoyable, which was why they did it.
Getting aroused, that arousal from the clitoris, being manipulated. And so that's what she talked about. And her sisters were getting of that age where it was, supposed to happen. And she was telling me about it because she was trying to prevent them from doing her little sisters. Because
I'm kind of confused with this statement posted.
What's this?
Right here. They want men to themselves. Men do not have those similar feelings. I've never met a man that doesn't want the woman to himself, even if he wants multiple women.
Well, what she's speaking
to only be with him.
Women are naturally jealous.
What she's speaking about is, or what they're speaking about is this: men are territorial.
Yeah.
In other words, we don't want to share. Mm-hmm. But if it happens, we're not going to go find the other man and fight him. Rarely in the streets will you see another man fighting another man because he's sleeping with another female. You will find women that will do that more so than men. And that's where that comment.
What you will find is a man that will be willing to kill another man if he's going after his woman.
But that's the difference.
So what is that?
That's the difference. It's a respect issue. Now, if the woman's going to seek him out, usually the man will address the woman. But if a man is coming on to his wife, or his mate, then that's the sign of disrespect. Don't conflate the two. That's what a lot of people do. It's the same thing that if I'm sitting next to my wife and a man is hitting on her and she hasn't made herself known to him that he is, and once he does, he continues. Well, now he's disrespecting me. It's not about the sex. It's about the respect issue that he's demonstrating that he doesn't care. That's what the man's addressing. He could care less about the sex. It's the same thing as you walking into my house and you not acknowledging me and you start talking to people. We got a problem because you haven't acknowledged me. And it's the same thing with the women that I'm sitting with, particularly if I'm married to her or we're in a committed relationship. You just saying, whatever, fuck you. Now we got a problem. And the problem's got to be addressed. Not now, but right now.
But you know, it goes back. It also goes back to what I've been saying before about women respond with emotion, men respond with thought. And if you read what she's saying, women are naturally jealous. That's an emotion. Men, when they get upset in this situation, it's because of their ego. They're thinking about how this is going to affect them. You're embarrassing me. That's why in these villages the woman is stoned, because he's not jealous. He's embarrassed, and his thought is you've disgraced the family. You disgraced me.
Right.
So now you have to be punished for it.
Right.
Whereas a woman, her emotions is what's controlling her feelings about her man being with somebody else, because she's jealous because she's hurt that he's with somebody else. The man is having a thought. So again, it comes right back to what, I always say, women think with emotion, men think with thought, love with thoughts. We think about our actions, think about things and how it affects us. We don't think emotion. The only time men really get emotion if they've been constantly around and raised by women, and they pick up emotion from women, from being around. That's how they react to things, because of how they see their mothers and sisters and everybody react. So that's how they react.
Let me read some of these comments. Somebody said, I think women don't put men in these positions as often. And somebody said, women are catty when it comes to men. Men get dangerous.
Yeah. And that's where the physical altercation comes in. There's a song by Jim Croce, Bad Leroy Brown. If you've never heard it, I would advise you to listen to it. Now, Leroy Brown's supposed to be the baddest man in the whole damn town. Song says that. Into the song, he goes into a pool hall, sees a woman at the end of the bar named Doris. He said, ooh, that girl look nice. So he casts his eyes upon her, and that's where the trouble soon begin, because Leroy got in a fight with the wife of a jealous man. Make a longer story, a shorter story, Leroy Brown ended up getting his ass whooped because he violated that man. That's what it is. Like I said, it's not about the sex or the whole thing. It's about the respect of a man. Because once you rob a man of respect, he essentially doesn't exist. You can take a homeless man and put him on the street. The one thing that man is going to hold true to is his self-dignity. You take dignity from a man, he may as well not exist. This is what a lot of men will fight tooth and nail for. You can take my money, you can bruise my pride, but once I lose self-respect as a man, I'm no longer a man. I'm just essentially a part of the ground that you walk upon, that you trample upon, that you can do whatever you want to. This is why men. Right. This is why
respect in all aspects from your woman.
Right. This is why men fight like that for quote unquote women, because they consider women a possession, not something that you can hold or sell or barter with, just as something that they went out, secured resources for, provided for. And if they've had children with, then they are the source of those children and the origin of that children's life. So that's what men wrap their identity in. This is why you'll see some men who they call blue pill simps. They say, hey, look, that's my wife. I can say what I want to about her because I provide for her, but you can't. And this is why you get a lot of people that say that doesn't make any sense. No, it never makes any sense to somebody that's on the outside. It only makes sense to that individual man or to the men who've been through that. They say, look, I'm not trying to defend or condone. I understand what he's saying and how he feels, because if I were in that situation, I would behave the same way. This is why they always tell me, hey, look, if you see a female out and she's by herself, look to see if she's married. Ask her if she's married in a committed relationship, because if she lies to you, then you can say, hey, look, bro, I asked if she was married. She's not wearing a ring. She told me she wasn't. I assume she was fair game. This is why the first thing you see a lot of men do is they say, hey, look, bro, I apologize. I don't want no problems. I don't want no issues. Because men know ultimately any fight that you get into can lead to you being seriously hurt.
fatal.
Yes. That's why Kevin Samuels, shout out to the Godfather, as Obsidian calls him, says, there's always a low-key threat of violence when two men get together and they're at opposite ends and there's no more talking.
Speaking of that, speaking of Kevin Samuels, this is just an interjection. So, I belong to this Kevin Samuels group. And I don't know if y'all remember, like maybe about a week ago, I had posted about this dialogue between this two men that engaged in a sexual activity, and the woman had found this out on his phone, had, read the text messages. I posted in the counselor's corner.
I responded to that.
So, most people didn't think nothing of it. They responded, whatever. I posted in the Kevin Samuels group. All these dudes was coming down on me saying I was gay. I was such and such. So, me, I'm going.
Wait a minute.
Going total. Go ahead. What's your question, Christine?
Go over this again. It somewhere it's not making sense to me.
About a week ago, it came up in my memories. I had posted this dialogue that was between two men. And basically the dialogue was the guy was creeping over with this guy. And essentially the guy ended up asking him, am I better than your woman? And he was
okay, I remember that.
Yeah, you are. And so I posted that. So like I said, I posted in the counselor's corner and people just responded and didn't think nothing of it. But I posted in the Kevin Samuels group. Now, Kevin Samuels may have very little to do with this group or anything.
He has nothing to do with it. Actually, somebody created it.
Yeah. So the guys in there, they turn, the author of this, he's gay. They went as far as to say, because I work in education, I'm gay. Because I'm trying to work with kids, and it's a way to
get close to
kids that I'm a pedophile. So they were going in, which led me to go to end up being in Facebook jail. I was in Facebook jail. I was gonna hit y'all up and tell y'all.
How did you respond that landed you in Facebook jail?
Because they reported the post.
They got me for bullying. Because the one guy I was going back and forth with, he said that well, yeah, he's gay. And then he was like, yeah, because I used to work a job that used to deal with people that got persecuted for that. Then later on in the thread, he said, yeah, I was dating a woman that was working his job. So I said, which one is it? Fat ass. Yep. So they got me for bullying. They got me for bullying.
Yep.
So they just kept coming with that narrative. Then I posted something the other day that said, oh, that's that guy. That's that guy. He's suspect, whatever. And I'm like, y'all are childish. Like, y'all are really childish. And there was other guys and women like, y'all act like this stuff don't go on. Like it ain't down low guys, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just funny. I took it in stride. Whatever.
I remember that post you put up.
Yeah, it's crazy as hell.
I tried to change the scenario to see what people was gonna say. They tagged me about that.
Yeah.
I said maybe he was talking about their workout pattern, and he work out better than his wife work out doing the exercise. And people was like, "Yeah, right, Willie. That's bullshit." I was like,
somebody said, I just hate how gay men are automatically labeled as pedophiles. I'm not calling you gay. It ain't no gay bone about me. I can tell you that. I
get what whoever this is, I get what they're saying. To try to say that being gay and being a pedophile is one and the same. That's just
it's very rare that
stereotyping to
be the case.
To disrespect all male teachers that gave service to kids for years. Like I said, I think it was something I said, man, I've been in education for 27 years. For people that put out service to help kids, empower them, to turn around and make it seem like they work in that field to get close to kids.
And look, that's really sad, especially given that like you three gentlemen do so much with basically, what do they call them? At-risk kids.
At-risk, yeah.
And thank God you do. But to have to put up with the possibility of somebody saying that you're doing it because you're really trying to get next to kids, you know, and then we lose good people that are trying to help mentor these kids that need it.
You're afraid of getting labeled and getting into some situation because of those accusations.
And I will say,
and people don't
go
care.
ahead, Willie.
Care about, you know, trying to label you like that to try to mess you up.
And I will say this, being that I have no kid, that's the first thing that they look at. As sad as it is, when I ran for the Board of Education here in Niagara Falls, the city of Niagara Falls, I was asked that. They said, you don't have any children in the district, so why do you care? And it's a question that's off-putting because anybody that's an adult.
How did you respond?
Well, I simply said this. I said, as a taxpayer, shouldn't anybody want the children of this district to do well?
If I'm a part of this community, why wouldn't I care? Right. Why wouldn't I care?
But what it wasn't so much. Well, it wasn't so much that. What it was an attack, but it was being veiled.
Yeah.
As
obviously
trying to make me appear that I was trying to get next to single mothers' children. So you have to understand how campaigning and how they try and undercut you in your position, because the same questions were asked about me and my lack of secondary degrees or college degrees, and I simply asked. I said, you know what? I said, that's correct. I said, I've been to college, but I did not obtain a degree. But I said, let me ask this question. I said, everybody that's on the board currently as constructed has at least a bachelor's and or a master's degree. I said, with all that post-secondary education, why does our district rank 96 out of 99? Shut them up. That's how you deal with that. You confront the hidden message, and then you confront the blatant message, because once you do that, you turn on all the lights, so all the people who would try and follow that up, they don't ask that mess anymore. And that's the thing that you always have to be cognizant of, especially as a Native Black American male in academics, because we're so vastly disappearing. And then they wonder why when young Black males get into middle school or preparatory school or the 7th and 8th grades, that there's nobody there that they can identify with. And the first thing they want to do is start categorizing them as ADHD. And this is one of the things that Dr. Umar Johnson always fights. He says, do not allow them to put your kids on Ritalin or any psychotropic drugs 100%. Or anything like that. Because more often than not, they want these boys to do something that boys don't do. Naturally, boys are more energetic at girls with girls out of that age.
Right, they want to sit down.
And yes, BGS also talks about this with the Prussian school system. And I have to go back and look that up. Shout out to the master teacher. And he talks about this. We learn differently. You talk about this, Willie, with your program, the tactile learning and things of that nature. So these are all the things that are encompassed in that when we talk about these type of things, and pedophilia and men doing this and men doing that, because it's never leveled at women. And we're starting to see how women are actually, as much as men have sex with boys and girls, that women are actually slowly starting to level those numbers out.
And you're saying slowly starting to level those numbers out, but for all we know, it's been going on for a long time. It's just now
being talked about. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so that's those are,
add to it. A lot of those women are married.
Yes.
And have children.
Yes.
And it's looked as a
so
badge
that doesn't stop you from being basically a pedophile just because you have children.
Yeah, but it's easier to shine the spotlight on somebody who's unattached. This is why it's difficult for single men with no kids to climb up the corporate ladder, because they view you as a wild card and a liability, whether you are or you aren't. This is another thing that Kevin Samuels talks about. He said, if you want to move up in corporate America, you need to have a wife as a man, because you're viewed as less of a liability just because of the appearance. Whether you're out there in the streets doing other things or not, it's another story. It's just the appearance, and a lot of businesses work off appearances. You think about take a label like Pepsi. How long has Pepsi been around? Almost 100 years.
Yeah.
We don't buy Pepsi, or people that buy Pepsi don't necessarily always buy Pepsi because of the way it tastes. They buy it because they have trust in the product. This is why when Coke changed
Name recognition.
Yes. This is why when Coke changed their taste, they had people revolting. They were revolting because of the taste. But if Coke never had advertised that they had changed their product in terms of its taste, you'd have Coke supporters buying Coke from now until they die because they're loyal to the brand. You take any brand that's been built, brand recognition serves anything. So just the same way that brand recognition works, so does trying to methods of painting people in a negative light work. So I mean, you know, it's always difficult for black men in this country to get in academics and stay in there, mainly because the spotlight is always casted upon you. They're saying, well, why do you want to be in academics? That's a female-run thing. The same thing they ask about men that want to be nurses. Well, why do you want to be nurses? That's a female-dominated category. What are you trying to get in there and bang all the women? Yeah.
Women's work.
Same thing they ask about women. Why do you want to be a surgeon? That's a male-dominated society, male-dominated career. Why do you want to get in there and make out with all the men? So that pendulum, and the pendulum swings both ways. It's just a matter of when, and the sword definitely cuts both ways. So there's always hidden agendas when people ask certain questions. The question becomes, is the individual that's being questioned acute enough to see that, and then, like I said, deal with it head on. So you don't have to be asked those. You don't have to worry about people asking those questions again. And I'll close that segment with this. For the people who follow football, and I'm sure David, you'll probably recall this, when Doug Williams went to the Super Bowl in 1981 with the Washington Redskins, he had a reporter ask him this. He said, "How long have you been a black quarterback?"
All my life.
Yeah.
And people looked at the guy like, did you really just ask him that question?
Sound like he froze in a moment, didn't have nothing else to say.
Yeah, poor
the stupidity of. So I mean, it's out there, you know, and as long as, you know, we're here, we're always going to have to deal with some type of stigma that you know is designed to put us in a bad light. So you just got to be able to handle it.
And that's how I took it with them guys, and I kind of was breaking. I was kind of breaking them down. I'm like, why are y'all so disturbed about this subject matter? Because I was like, I got y'all on the ropes. Did I expose y'all or whatever the case is? I said, because me, as a straight man, you just reading through this, you don't be invested. They kept this conversation going for like 2 or 3 days. It was the issue that kept going back to it, and I'm like, y'all dudes, man, something ain't right. Something ain't right. But anyway, I want to read the comment one of my former students said, Shaughnessy, and shout out to you, Shaughnessy, for being an active participant in the Counselor's Corner and even joining us in the live. She said, ain't no way Mr. Glover got no kids to come to work and listen to me sit in his office and complain about stuff I put myself in. And Shaughnessy, no. When I first got to the school, all day, every day, I was dealing with their stuff. Non-stop. It'd be like 7, 8 girls in there, and you have administrators knocking on the door. Everything okay in there? Like, we good. And trust me, we work through this process, and they're all doing well. They're all doing well now. Nurses and doctors and holding prestigious jobs. But for those idiots in that group, whatever, that was coming with that, it's a shame. Shame on them. And they got the wrong one if they thought I was going to back down and fold up. I'm still posting stuff. What they thought, I guess they thought I was going to disappear out of the group. I'm not going nowhere.
That's what they hope for.
Nowhere. Yeah. I want all the smoke. I keep saying that. And it's a shame that you try to belittle somebody who put in years of service working with kids, and just in a helping profession, in any helping profession in this day and age. You got to honor people that do that. So that's
instead of trying to tear them down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quicker to tear them down. And then say,
because I bet you
them
them same people, they won't stand up and do it. I don't care if they have kids or not. They're not getting ready to stand up and do it.
No, they won't. Matter of fact, they'll run the opposite direction, and then they'll complain about the lack of resources or people willing to help out. That's where you find them at, and I've seen that often.
Yeah.
And with Shauna, she said, yes, Rakira graduates med school this year. See, that's what I'm
nice.
talking about. My people, they're my people, whatever. They went on. We had some good conversations over the years. And like I said, it was times I'd be like, oh my God, like I can't deal with it. They used to just come and text in my office. I'm like, man, but they made it through, whatever, and they making a difference. Now they're responsible parents and they're doing their thing. So shout out to all of my Newtown people. What was y'all name, Shaughnessy? The Glam Squad? Is that what it was? The Glam Squad.
And you have the unfortunate.
How many of them was it?
It was like, I mean, it probably was like 6 or 7 of them, but then they had like rivalries and different people, so it was like never ending. Like it was always putting out fires. You know, they handled their business and they, you know, dressed nice, had the guys after them, but they were always focused on school. But then you had other people that wasn't focused, and I was always caught up in between. So I could never get a breather. There was never a dull moment, but it made me better having to do with that. I wasn't sitting around twiddling my thumbs. I was always busy, and that's what it's all about.
Nice.
And the thing about that is, we're gonna get a lot more of that just because of the absence of male presence, not only in homes but in communities, just period. So they don't have anybody to bounce that off of, and somebody that's going to redirect that energy, absorb it, redirect it, or tell them how to deal with certain things. Because as was discussed earlier, a lot of boys will absorb that female energy and they'll re-radiate it as that, as opposed to just dealing with things like a young man. And that's something that men will put into guys at a younger age and say, look, you don't deal with that in that manner. And they'll say, why? My mother does it. And you say, that's why. Because your mother can get away with certain things that you will not be able to. Because you're going to say that to the wrong person and the wrong result is going to come. And then after all is said and done, if you walk away unscathed, you say, I didn't know that was going to happen. I've never seen that before. That's why. As we discussed earlier, there's always a low-key threat of violence when two males get together, because that's the next level. For women, they're just going to yell. We see that more with the younger girls where they're willing to engage in physical altercations, where 20 years ago, all they did was yell. Now they're taking what young boys used to do and behave aggressively. And this is why we start to see more cell phone video of them fighting in restaurants, destroying property, and just behaving in ways that a generation ago would have never been conceived of. So you start to see the breakdown of young female behavior and young male behavior, where boys aren't necessarily fighting anymore. They're yelling. And girls aren't yelling. They're fighting. Yes.
Female reaction.
Yeah.
Emotions versus thought.
Mm-hmm.
So Shaughnessy said, agree. I think a lot of us, if not all, had single moms. Remember, I had graduated 8th grade and moved to Baltimore and lost my mom in the span of 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, you know, they show resiliency, perseverance, and stuff like that makes you stronger. It makes you dig deeper.
Yeah, so it's easy for somebody not on the front lines of that to hurl insults and have their opinions and their comments, but they're not the ones that are getting ready to get out there and do the real work.
Exactly.
And they never will.
They won't be anywhere around when they're needed. They'll be back still sitting around waiting to talk about and put things down and throw stones.
Mm-hmm. Might even got kids of their own out there that they're not taking care of.
Thank you.
Yeah. You see it a lot. You see it a lot. So, the only thing, people like us do is, we work with the pieces that we have, try and build them up so they get through. Because what I've seen is once kids, if they make it through high school, they don't have any drug habits, especially now with marijuana being legal in most states, so you can get it and smoke it without any penalty. They don't develop any drug habits. They don't contract any STIs or STDs. They don't have any kids. They stand a very good chance of being a productive adult. Now, how productive is always subject to whatever that area has to offer. But they stand a pretty good chance of living a pretty good life, which is all we try and get these kids to do, is get them to the next level in their progression of being a responsible adult. It just so happens that the ones that fall through the cracks, they become I can't remember the correct term, but they come a force multiplier, meaning that for every problem that they have, they pull about 5 or 6 resources from the community. So if a girl has a kid, she's pulling from the school district, she's pulling from her family, she's pulling from the community because she needs help, and she's pulling from public assistance. So it's like they teach soldiers in battle. You don't necessarily want to kill another soldier. What you want to do is you want to wound that soldier, because if you wound that soldier, it's going to take about 3 or 4 people to care for that individual. So you take away more manpower from the other side. I know it sounds contrary to what war is supposed to be. War is about killing. Sometimes if you're dealing with people, let's look at it like this. If you're outnumbered 2 to 1 and you're in a defensive position, but you manage to wound 50% of the people and you only lose 25, you're actually at a standstill with only half the number. So this is kind of what happens when people fall through the cracks. It may not be a lot, but it's enough to derail the progress that's made communally. So this is why students failing has such a drastic impact on their communities, because if they fall into the streets or anything else, they'll draw resources, and resources now, especially with budgets being constricted, and we're going to see this now with the rent moratoriums being raised or being ended. We're going to see a whole lot of single mothers with dependent kids out in the streets, and it's going to get real ugly real soon. So and we talked about this last year with COVID, and what are parents going to do to ensure that their kids have a place to stay and food to eat?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's so much to this, whatever, and people don't understand. Like you said, like one little layer affects another layer, and sometimes people don't think about how all of this stuff intertwines. And I think the last thing we need to be doing is trying to put folks down that's doing something positive and trying to build. So we always talk about how do we make our communities better, but really sometimes I often think like, man, like we got our backs against the wall and we're in a serious battle that I don't know the how to get out of it. I don't. And you could have people that again, we always make reference to being religious, going to church and all that stuff, but we realize some of them are the worst people that go there.
Yeah.
They only go there for just because they're either used to going there, they've been raised in the church, or just going there because they know that it's going to be a
attracted to the
crowd,
pastor.
yeah, and stuff like that. But we're going to move on to the next segment.
Crush on the pastor.
I don't want this to be another holdover. So, how has the pandemic affected your relationship with friends, family, and partner? And during the height of the pandemic, did you feel isolated? So let's talk about that, because it's still going on. The pandemic's still going on, and some people are still in the house and barely have any movement, don't come out. A lot of people are still working from homes and doing that. So how has it impacted you guys as far as friends, family, and your partner, if you have a partner or potential partners?
Well, I found out a lot about people who I thought were my friends and family and things like that. There's some people I have not heard from. And even though I've reached out to them, that I have not heard from since the pandemic started, which was what, the end of 2019?
Yeah, about.
And I haven't heard from some of these people. I've reached out to some people, but people who I thought was friends, and normally I'm doing stuff, and like normally I would hear from them when I'm doing things for them, or reaching out to do something with them. But hearing from them to contact me to make sure I'm okay, or even just say, hey, I just want to see how you doing, that kind of thing. There's some people, even family, that I haven't heard from, and I've reached out to and still haven't heard from. And it's been almost 2 years now. So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about how people are and who's in your circle when things are bad, or when tough times get tough. So you learn a lot. You learn a lot from just paying attention to who's around you and how they respond in times of crisis. A lot of people are afraid you're going to ask them for something. That's a big thing. A lot of times they're afraid you're going to ask them for something. So they figure if they don't respond, or if they don't call you, then you can't ask them to do anything, or ask them for help, or whatever, whatever the case may be. But they'll be quick when they need you to do something to reach out, and ask you to do things and want you to do things for them. So I've learned a lot during this time. I'm not in a relationship. I haven't been in a real relationship. Shoot. March 2020. I dated somebody for a month. That was the last time.
That was during the pandemic.
Huh? Yeah. March 2020. That's when I dated. We dated for a month, from February to March. And that was the last time I actually, a dating relationship. That actually a relationship, yeah. February, March of 2020.
I think for me, like this person said, it made my my family closer, especially my immediate family, my kids, myself. Not just us, but it just really made all of us closer. I'm close to both exes' families, and that remains strong, maybe even a little bit stronger, because everybody was caring about how everybody else was doing. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Yeah, relationship wise, it killed that. That was cool. But overall, it's actually been in ways the silver lining of a bad situation, of the pandemic period. Last year, the grandkids all went to school from home. That was challenging. The first job I got after being laid off, it was a work from home. I discovered I hate working from home. Yeah, so I learned a little bit about myself with that. But And I think in ways I stepped out of my shell. I'm not really in a shell, but I mean, I stepped out of my comfort zone with some things during the or as a result of the pandemic. Traveled a little more by myself. That's not something I used to do. So
I think for one thing, real quick, I just want one thing. A lot of, I talk about this with my family, but a lot of people don't know, or I may not talk about it on the show. I moved out when I was 16. That's another reason why I'm not real close with my family. Even though I try to, as I got older, I tried to mend some fences and try to do some things. But I moved out when I was 16. So from 16 until now, I've basically raised myself. So, for me, it was a little different where, like I said, when I did reach out to family, it was normally because they needed something from me, and that's when we normally got involved. But now with this pandemic, if I'm not reaching out to them, they're not reaching out to me at all. So it's basically like I was 16 again. So it's a little different, Sorry about that, Herb. I just wanted to.
Nope. I've been fortunate, man. Not much for me has been affected. Although I did miss the brother's trip. I was annoyed by that, but things didn't work out as I had planned. For people that don't know, I have a large immediate family, mostly brothers. They went out to Las Vegas for about 4 or 5 days. I was supposed to accompany them, but unfortunately, I couldn't make it. So not much has changed for me. My friendships pretty much have remained intact, have remained where they were. My family's always been close knit, especially after actually we're coming up on, it'll be the 28th of this year, the 1 year, anniversary of the passing of our mother. So not much has changed for us. The holidays will be the holidays. We'll get together at our respective homes for Thanksgiving, and we'll do what we do. That's the one thing I can say growing up the way that I did is it makes our family very close knit. So there's not much that that will tear us apart. It's it's going to take an act of an omnipotent, omnipresent individual or being to accomplish something like that. So not even something like this has the ability to pull us apart. So there's always two things I've told people that I've been grateful for. One is to not have any kids out of wedlock or just have any kids in general, so I don't have to worry about that. And two is my family, my immediate family. So the pandemic for me really hasn't really been a negative thing. If anything, it showed me that being resilient is something that people have to understand how to be. And the reason why I say that is this. We never know what we can accomplish until we're forced to accomplish something. People will say, well, I can't do that. Well, how do you know? Have you ever tried? And when you're forced to do something is when you realize that you can do it. A lot of people have never been forced to deal with certain situations. Like you have all these parents at home now who have never had to try to work with their kids to do English, math, science, or history. So now people are starting to realize the value of the educational system in this country, not to mention the world over. So now everybody that used to complain about teachers, all of a sudden now you hear a lot less complaints. Everybody who's complaining about schools not doing this, they're quiet. And we talked about this before, with homeschooling. And I think in the next few years, homeschooling is going to become a real hot button topic because a lot of parents are going to be subjecting their kids to the COVID shot. And I'm not going to call it a vaccine because it's not a vaccine. Vaccines and what this COVID shot are designed to do are completely two different things. I don't care who says what. I'll tell you, look at what a vaccine does and look at what this COVID shot does. They're two distinctly different things. So we're going to see a lot of that come to the forefront in the next couple of years, especially with people quitting their jobs. I just read it and I don't know what it was, either the U.S. Conversation or some other periodical, that 3% of the workforce quit in a month of September. They have never had that high a
Yeah,
rate.
they're calling it the mass resignation or something like that.
Yeah. So
They're
you have
these ultimatums about taking the vaccine or losing their jobs.
Yeah,
we just
people
had
just
a
saying,
girl quit for that reason, and it's not even mandated yet. But it'll be mandated by January 4th, and she was like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah. So
New York State has mandated it for I think the end of October, and so you had a lot of New York City.
The Great Resignation.
Yeah, they all resigned in New York City, and then with the police and different people, they've quit.
It's very interesting to me. It's interesting to see. The pandemic has brought about some
dictatorship,
major shifts in so many ways in our lives now. And I think like corporate America, where they're used to being able to control the masses. We've got the jobs you need. You're going to put up with whatever we dictate. And that has all changed with the pandemic.
Yeah. They can no longer dictate to people.
They're finding that they don't have the power that they want to tell. People are like,
because you have people now that are investing in crypto, which is returning immediate gains, and people are saying, wait a minute, if I can work half the time, get this money and invest in crypto, and get this money and pay my bills, and then in certain terms pay off my debt, what the hell do I need to work for?
That's the thing, whether it's crypto or other things, people have found other ways to make money. They have found as well as reevaluating what they felt was important.
Right.
Yeah. I think
so. It vastly changed the grip that corporate America had on the workers.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you pay attention, go ahead, Dave. I'm gonna let you, because I'm gonna share something after you finish.
And I think, like I said, as far as the crypto and all that, people realized that they had to have other streams of income, and they couldn't rely on their jobs. But I wanted to go into like how it impacted me in many different areas. My family's always going to be close knit. We always going to be close. Anytime it's a function or whatever the case is, we going to get together. We going, I've invited you, Willie, Herb, and all that. We always going to have something, and so that's always going to remain there, and we wouldn't have it no other way. But also for me, as far as mentally, like working virtually in education as a counselor, it didn't work.
Don't work. No, it ain't gonna work.
I mean, teachers, they might have had their classrooms logging in on Google Meets, and they, you see kids, some turn on the cameras, but me, it's not me having sessions, pretty much scheduled sessions online, and a lot of times the kids won't show up. It's a difference from me being in school to actually be able to go get kids, go to their classroom, or always being apart, standing in the hallway, having conversations, or being in the cafeteria. So it was killing me. I was like, I'm not even a shell of myself in this role. And I guess always the movement and just always being active. And like I said, I'm trying to go through this weight loss journey right now. I had gained like 30, 40 pounds during the pandemic. So, and to me, it was getting out of control. Not that I was terribly, but I tried to put that in my mind. And I kept saying, when I went in and weighed at my doctor's, and he said I weighed a certain weight, I said, man, I'm about to die.
But that's it. You got to tell yourself what you didn't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's where you were headed.
Yeah.
So I said I had to make a change. Something has to give. Something has to give. Because I know with this pandemic going on, COVID, and the bigger you get and you go through things, sooner or later, I could have been one laid up in the bed with tubes and stuff. I said, "Oh, not today, not me. I got too much other stuff to do." So that was one of that impacted me, and I just think overall it made you start thinking different and valuing certain things. And they say, when you get in your 40s or 50s, that's supposed to be your best time. You've been through everything. You're supposed to be, establishing certain things, and you're supposed to be in cruise control. Well, we know that most of the time that's not the case, but it made me start thinking, like, even like you said, investing in crypto and trying to say, man, I'm not about to be this 60-some-year-old counselor, and I got some years before I hit that part. I'm 51. I said, I'm not about to be no 60-some-year-old counselor going into classrooms and kids taking shots and don't have no respect for you. I said, I got to find a way to get out of this game. I got to find a way. I'm just being real. That's just for me. Other people, you can be 65, 70. If that's your choice, that's not for me. That's not what I want to do. So you have to try to find other creative ways. And we had a lot of time on our hands to think and try to come up with a better plan. So I try to utilize some of that stuff, whether it was dealing with taking public classes virtually and all that. And it's still, that's only a shell of what you can do when everything's virtual. But I think I'm trying to get locked in on certain things and just keep moving forward. And that's what people, have to do. And we also know with, like, as far as the partner and the relationship stuff, that a lot of stuff became virtual and people have to meet like that. And that ain't my cup of tea either. And I do realize this, that
that personal touch.
Yeah, that personal touch is big, and just meeting random strangers, that ain't never gonna be my deal. That ain't never gonna be my deal. So it makes you appreciate people that you had in your life.
Making some hot chocolate.
Oh.
What you say, Herb?
Making some hot chocolate. No pizza, no wings tonight.
Oh, you making some hot chocolate? I thought you was at freaking Timmy Ho's ordering a freaking.
No, got Chinese on deck.
Okay, but no, it's a real, and people need to start thinking about it. And I think people, they kind of got it twisted too with all the different stimulus package, the unemployment, and all that stuff. And now I think reality is kicking in on that end too, for folks who are getting all this, and now it ain't there, and they wondering, like, what the hell I'm gonna do next. So
I have to agree with whoever this is who said, nope, these parents don't want to really deal with their children. I do believe that there'll be a lot of people that will get their children vaccinated rather than have them at home because they don't want to deal with it. They themselves probably still won't get vaccinated, but they'll get those kids.
They'll say kids, right? Yeah, and they've just approved it for what, 5 and up,
5 through for what, the Pfizer or the Moderna?
Pfizer, yeah.
Yeah, but
now it's 5 and up. And they're proving that so the kids can be in the schools and all those kind of things. But,
and people need to understand, it's not a game. Like, with these kids being out and they coming back into the schools, it's like reteaching everything over and over again. Like, and you never thought, like, the fights, the little bickering back and forth, the behaviors in school, it's out of control. Yeah. If I sit up there and recorded, like, some of the stuff that was said in the hallways just from my office, and I brought it back to here, y'all be like, where the hell are you at, David? A bar or something? These little 11, 12-year-olds, the time they walk out of class, What up, bitch? Motherfucker, this and that, nigga, this
Oh my
and that. Like,
God.
unreal, like unreal. And like I said before on previous things, it get to the point like I'm not about to no power struggle and even address this. This is just their world where I'm just gonna let them live in. But if they come in my office talking that, yeah, that's a different story. And in the hallway, have at it. But you're not gonna be coming in here like one of my students came in and my secretary tried to stop her and she was like, I want to see Mr. Glover. And she was like, well, do you have an appointment with him? She was like, no. Is he here? Is he here? And then
Wow.
she was like, yes, yeah. Well, I want to see him. Then she's like, oh, she came back to me, my secretary, like, oh, such and such want to see you. And then I was like, who is it? And then I said, bring her back. So she shut the door, but I was like, oh, who was you just talking to out there? I said, you don't come up in here like that, yelling at my secretary, demanding, or whatever the case is. I'm sorry, Mr. Glover. I was just so upset. Like, no, it's not that type of party. But
I'm glad you corrected her.
yeah, they forget those skills. They just come in like, is he here? Screw, I ain't feeling.
It just makes me wonder. How are you talking to your mama, your daddy at home?
But that's where they get it from, though. That's where a lot of them get it from. They hear how they talk to people, and so they pick up that same behavior, especially with them being away from school for almost a year. They're surrounded by that environment of that's how they communicate. So that's one of the problems they're having, excuse me, here in Niagara Falls, because the kids are coming back into the school with this total disregard for anybody. One of the kids, I was just hearing about, one of the kids came in and punched the principal at the high school. The kids have been rioting, and it's mostly girls that's doing a lot of this stuff, just fighting and like for no reason, just fighting over a boy, fighting because you look better than me, whatever the case may be. They're just fighting, and the behaviors are so different because these kids act like they've never been in a school environment, but it's because they have been out of school so long that they've picked up these habits of just doing and saying what they want to do.
And one of the things also is there's a lot of parents fighting in the community too, whatever, like parents going at it. So the kids tell me, I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, yeah. Like, yeah, well, me and Mr. Glover, we was walking to the store, and then such and such parent, they pulled up, got out the car, and I'm like, these is grown people. Like, yeah, and they confronted us. Or said, oh, you said you was going to punch my sister in the mouth? We'll do it then. And I'm like, and these are grown people. So it's a lot of stuff that has to be retaught. But the crazy thing about it all is, as soon as these kids got back in school, they were supposed to take a state mandated test. And I'm like, what is wrong?
Really?
But we know that money is coming in to take these federal tests. So the power of money supersedes anything. So I'm like, how the hell y'all having these kids take tests? When y'all know the score is not going to be right. And they really haven't been doing anything, because virtually half of the kids say, yeah, my camera wasn't on, I was sleeping, or I was doing this or doing that. I just had the computer on, and y'all want them to take a test. But school districts say, man, we got to keep that money coming in. We got to keep it coming in. And we in a bad.
Not about the students anymore. It's not about the education and making sure kids have a better life. It's all about making sure those dollars flow in, and they can keep propping up the school system and paying the teacher, whoever they got to pay to help make it happen. But like I said, in Niagara Falls, I look at how these kids are, man, and the stuff that, that's going on with the kids. And like I said, they contacted me. They asked me to do 5 proposals for Niagara Falls City Schools. And one of them was a conflict resolution proposal. And I did that for them. And we'll see what happens with it. But there's so much going on. Like I said, they're not even doing my boys program, which is very beneficial, helping with the boys. But they're not even doing that. They're not doing anything with these kids right now, which is making it even worse.
Well, and the truth of the matter is, we all know, like I learned that if they really wanted to do something in Niagara Falls, they should be doing something with the black boys to build up, to build up, to make the schools better. If you build up the black boys, it rises the whole
That's
thing,
right.
whatever. It
That's
rises
right.
the whole school system, the levels and all that. If you could get the boys to get on board with
Yeah.
education. If you're ignoring that, then you want your stuff to be down low and you don't care. It's about trying to build up the boys, the black
But that's
boys.
where the
And
money's coming in at. The money's coming in now because all these at risk and all these things. So the more they have in that sector, the more money they can get into that, put into these kids, these failing kids, and all that stuff. But still keeping them at that level, so that way they can continue to get that money. Because the kids they're not doing anything.
so
they allow you to run the programs, even though the programs might lead to failure, just so they can recycle the kids and get more money.
And the programs
the money to come in.
that help them, they're not trying to do. Like I said, my
Right.
program.
Oh, so you're saying, you all are saying that they're running the programs they know will fail?
Yes.
Well, they're not.
In a manner of speaking,
it will help them.
Wow.
They're basically like I said, my program in Buffalo, we go 20 weeks, okay, but in Niagara Falls they only want to do it for 8. You know what I mean? So you want me to do what I do with kids for 20 weeks to help them progress? You want me to condense it to an 8-week program? And then the kids are asking me, "What, Mr. Price, are you coming back? Why is the program ending?" Because they're starting to progress in the program and doing better in classroom, and all of a sudden it's over. That motivation that they were getting from my program is over because it's only been 8 weeks. Whereas, and so we ended in February, March. We did February and March. It was 8 weeks. But then in Buffalo, we were going all the way to June. So we were going up right into when they got ready to do exams and everything. So we were working with them and helping them to, overcome some of the obstacles they were overcoming. And kids were doing well, graduating, going to high school and, those kind of things. But here, once the kids started to get a grasp on it, they cut the program off. So now it stops. So it's like going back to square one again with them.
it's a lot going on. So it is one of the things, the importance of having these conversations. And I know sometimes they tailspin into other things, but again, all of this stuff is valuable information, whether we're talking about hygiene, whether we're talking about polyamory or different relationships and communication and people doing it, all of it is important. So for people who like to take shots and say things, whatever, those are the people that's pretty much closed-minded and really don't want to see change or don't want to see different things addressed because they're okay where in their little bubble, but they're really not okay, but they want to pretend to be okay. So we're going to keep having these conversations. And as far as next Monday, I don't know how y'all feel about it. I know it's and we got lucky. They gave us Wednesday off before Thanksgiving, and that's a first, whatever. So I don't know what's the trick behind that or what it's going to lead to, but I'll take it for right now. And I don't know if y'all feel like, okay, next week we just want to maybe not have a show or and then just come back. I don't know. So yeah.
That's Monday. You still got like 5 days to go after that. 4 days to go. I look forward to Mondays. I'll be here if y'all want to be here. It don't matter to me.
I'm game.
I'll let y'all know.
Yeah. We already we got 3. It's 3-1, Dave. You gonna be here. It's 3-1, Dave. You'll be here.
Or I can set it up, and I may not just be here, and y'all can handle it.
No, we need you here. You are fearless leader, man. We need you up in there.
We'll discuss. We'll talk about that.
All right, let us know.
We'll talk about that. But we're gonna get ready to have some closing comments, and I'm just looking at this game. This football season gonna be crazy. I don't know. It's gonna be some random team that ended up winning the championship.
Who's playing tonight? I don't even know who's playing.
San Francisco and the Rams, and San Francisco winning 31-10.
Oh!
All these high scoring games this weekend. I don't know what's going on this weekend.
Yeah.
Well, this is an upset because San Francisco is not supposed to be that squad. So
no, and Buffalo had 45 points. Well, look at they played. They played the Jets, but they had 45 points yesterday. I was like, what the hell?
So it to me, it's crazy. So we're gonna get ready to give some closing comments, get up out of here. So who wants to go first so we can get out of here and people can get their rest?
I'm gonna close out with a controversial situation. I noticed something. I posted about it earlier. I was doing some research on some boys and men program, and something I noticed which really bothered me was the fact that I saw several men and boys programs that were started and run by women. And that really bothered me because you don't see men starting and running women's programs and girls programs. But for a program supposed to be geared towards men and boys to be started by a woman and then controlled and ran by a woman, that really kind of bothered me because, we talk about women and male mentors and female mentors, but when you have a woman controlling how boys are being taught to that extent in a boys program, it really kind of threw me off. So I think that's something we might need to talk about sometime. Is just those kind of roles, because some things that really bothered me.
Yeah, that sounds like a topic.
Yeah, that seemed like a selfish agenda. Whoever's running the program.
Yeah. And I went to their Facebook page. I went to their Facebook page, and it wasn't so much centered on the things that they were doing with the boys. And when it was like they were talking about things with the boys, but it would be the woman doing a whole show, a presentation about the program, and then when you showed anything with the boys, she was running everything that went on with the boys, and there would be men there, but they would basically be there, and they did like a panel, and she had 3 women and herself, and the man was just sitting there, and the women were answering all the questions, but it was a boys panel, a discussion of boys doing things with boys. And I'm like,
that's weird. I feel you on that. That's
a scary. So we need to maybe talk about that.
And as women, we would be all up in arms to see a panel of men making decisions on what would be best for women or girls.
And that's what I thought about when I saw that. And I said, and then I went and then I found a men's group, which really got me. And it was started by a woman and ran by a woman. The meetings for the men's group she ran the meetings for the men's group and everything. And I'm like,
narrative.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck? How is a woman running a men's group meeting and making all the decisions? And I'm like, and the men are just sitting there. And I'm like, okay. So that was my closing, that we need to really look at the role
Herb actually got me wanting some hot chocolate.
More active into our young men and our boys in men's programs. So that's the way we don't lose the young men that we have coming up through the ranks. And in closing, final closing, headshot can be deceiving, so be careful.
Who's next?
I will follow that up, Willie, with this. 2 things. Black Lives Matter and the program that was shot down that President Obama tried to get through, My Brother's Keeper. If you're not familiar with how the My Brother's Keeper program was subverted, go look that up. You'll find the answer and part to what Willie's talking about, which also lends me to the next statement that I'm going to make in who's running the family, especially the black family. When you get the answer to those 2 questions, you'll understand why it's imperative that what Willie said is something that we need to follow through on. 1 foot in front of the other. Eventually, you get to your destination. And as always, growth and understanding occurs in the gray area. Godspeed. See you next time.
All right.
Beautiful.
Come corrected. What Anne-Marie say your name should be? Come corrected.
It was something.
Christine. What's your closing?
Beautiful Christine Brooks.
Really, nothing is really coming to mind.
Yeah, man.
As usual, it's been a good show. Very good topics. I was kind of curious about the last topic that we didn't get to. I was interested to see what that was about because I didn't really understand from the.
Well, let me give you a quick synopsis real quick. More and more men are being pushed out of their families, and not necessarily to the point where they have a say-so. In other words, what they want for their kids is secondary. They really have very little input. They're looked at as an afterthought. They're only looked at for what they can provide monetarily, and for some people sexually. Aside from that, men are an afterthought. So what happened was the mother had called for a family photo. She wanted everyone to dress in a specific manner, and the father didn't. The picture was posted to social media, and everybody ridiculed him as saying that he couldn't follow instructions and directions. Last I recall, a man is free to do what he wants to, so who is actually not following quote-unquote instructions or is not being told what to do? Last thing I know, two people in a relationship are two people in a relationship. You agree to do something. Nobody dictates to somebody what they should or shouldn't do.
Okay. Okay, I was just curious.
We
Anyway,
don't-
so from tonight's show, please wash your ass, wear deodorant. Wear deodorant, take care of your feet, and just brush your teeth.
Exactly.
Whatever
Cleanliness
don't seem
is
right, whatever don't seem right, change it up. But
Right.
I'm gonna close it out. It reminded me something you said, Willie, and I remember when I was in the process of trying to get a school counseling position. Just a short little story. I guess the controversial counselor moment or a David's moment.
There you go.
And I had like 5 or 6 interviews with the Greece school district, like out of the suburbs of Rochester, New York. And nobody could tell me like, okay, I'm going to get hired there. Like, okay, that's not that bad. I'm not going to be that far away from the falls. And the lady who was the coordinator of the program, which that district is the 8th biggest school district in New York State. So she had told me, like in confidence, we talk, and she's like, you do realize that we don't have no black male counselors in our school district.
Wow.
And I'm like, what?
In the whole district?
Yeah. So you're the 8th biggest school district in New York State, and you don't have no black male counselors. I was like, so who's the representation for the black boys? Who are they to see? And it was like nothing. And needless to say, I never got hired by that district. I never got hired. So, and this was a black woman, and I'm like, oh, I already know this game that you, because like I had told her, I was like, she was like, well, I feel like if I hire you, they're going to say the only reason I did it because you were black. I said, match all their resumes against mine. Put all their resumes on the table against mine, and that would be your justification. But she never did it. So,
and that's sad.
Yeah, it is.
That should be again another topic. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
That should be another topic.
My ex-wife, she is the only black teacher in the Lewiston school district for 13 years. Well, now it's like what? Like 15 years, 16 years. the only black school, and she teaches first grade. So after first grade, they don't see a black teacher. And she's been the only black teacher in that school, Lewiston School District, in like 15 years now. Because it was 13 years when we were together. So 2 more. Yeah, 15. Last 15 years, there's only been one black school teacher in that school district. That is crazy.
So these are the dilemmas that we are faced with. And I know in my school district, we have black male counselors, but as far as in department chair roles, I think it might be 3 of us. There might be 3 of us that's black male department chairs. And I know a lot of times people males don't want to get into the counseling aspect and different things. They prefer to be in teaching or physical education or something like that. But all of this stuff ties in together. And with this episode, hygiene, again, like I said, relationships, polyamory, the pandemic, we still have to talk about this stuff. We still have to talk about it. And granted, this is only a small platform. And I know, Shaughnessy, you said, when is the podcast coming? I'm not sure if what you actually meant by that, or like, is this sure going to be turned into a podcast? To me, all of the stuff the same.
Yeah, it's all the same thing. Yeah,
it's all the same thing. You just go through different platforms or whatever case. All of this is all about like reading a book. How do you get 1 million followers and all this stuff? It's people sharing stuff. People sharing it. People got to continually to share, and then stuff grow. But when people don't do that, it stays stagnant. So we all have to continue to share the podcast, like it, and all that stuff, and it builds up the the algorithms and stuff like that. But needless to say, great show tonight, great conversation. I look forward to the next podcast. I always look forward to the questions that people are gonna come up with, our topic, whatever, and then post about it. And we just have a good conversation. Let me read this fun fact. I applied for my job since 2017.
I was just reading that. I
was Caucasian and got an interview in 2 weeks. Wow.
Yep.
And she says, definitely an ongoing conversation. Yeah, it's ongoing. It's never ending. So that people say that they get tired of these conversations, I don't know what to tell you. Stay in bed, cover up, close your blinds, because these conversations will continue to happen, and that's that. So with that being said, we about to get out of here.
Just a quick thing, Shaughnessy. If you go to YouTube and you click on Counselors David's page, you can listen to these shows anytime you want to. That's how they're in podcast format. So anytime you want to, you can listen to rebroadcast. This is just a live. They're all archived there.
All right. Thank you for that. And everybody, stay safe. Have enjoy the rest of your week. We'll let
see you Monday, Dave. See you Monday, Dave.
It's gonna be something Monday. If not, happy holidays. Everybody have a good turkey day.
See you Monday, Dave.
I'll be through with this 14-day BS.
Yeah,
I know. I actually took a bite of a cookie today, a little bite. I had to get a little taste, but that was it. I didn't cheat. Too bad.
I don't know. Y'all ain't been posting nothing about this, so this suspect. I think y'all been
I've been suffering through this.
I have been.
As my family, I've been hangry. It's getting better, but I do have a piece of the day every day that I'm hangry.
So have y'all been coming down, losing weight, or has that helped or anything?
It's not really a weight thing. It's more so just getting a lot of that stuff out of your system.
Okay.
So it's not really a weight thing.
I might have dropped a couple of pounds. Nothing earth shattering.
Yeah.
But like he said, it really wasn't about that. It goes back to the whole thing about health. It's not all about the scale. So
That's true. That's
cleaning
true.
your system out. It's a lot
So
of
we'll see you Monday.
things in your system. Yeah, Monday we'll be able to talk about that as part of the show. Dave. Dave
Right,
Edwards.
we'll connect. We'll talk about it. Maybe y'all thinking like, oh, Dave already he tired, whatever. And I'm not. I could do this all the time, but we'll talk. We'll discuss.
We'll figure it out.
With
See you
that
next week,
said,
Dave.
everybody enjoy themselves, be safe, and we'll connect.
Have a good night. See you next week, Dave. See you Monday.
All
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Peace.